Good morning, gorgeous. Yes, you. Welcome back to Rosie Rooted and Rising. I'm your host, Rosie Brown. So much has happened since my last episode in season 2. Yes, I know it's only been 3 weeks, but season 3 is starting in a very real place for me. I do not have everything figured out, and I am not coming into this season with a perfect plan for what happens next. I am still building my business, but I'm paying closer attention to my finances and making decisions about my stability, responsibilities, and what I need right now. At the same time, you're not going to believe this. A door from my past work life has opened up again in a way I did not expect. So, before I tell you where this season is going, I want to start by being honest about where I am right now. I'm in the middle of figuring out some things, just, life, making real decisions, and trying to understand what this next chapter is asking of me. So I'm sitting with this DCPP. Why do I have a problem saying DCPP? Anyway, let me start that over. So I'm sitting at this DCPP interview. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. And I noticed how much it bothered me that I even had to think about going back. Not because the work is beneath me, it absolutely is not. I loved what I did. But because I had attached so much meaning to leaving. I thought leaving meant I had finally chosen myself. So when the possibility came back around, I had to ask myself whether I was being invited backward or whether I was being given a bridge. And that question stayed with me longer than I expected. You see, leaving DCPP was not just leaving a job. It was leaving a version of myself that knew how to survive in that kind of environment. I knew how to show up. I knew how to carry responsibility. I knew how to deal with pressure, even when it was wearing me down. There was a part of me that became very skilled at functioning inside places that did not always feel healthy for me. So when I left, I think I told myself, okay, that means I'm free now. That means I'm moving forward. That means I will never have to consider that kind of room again. But life has a way of testing the meaning we attach to things, doesn't it? Because now here I am, building my business, believing in what I'm creating, and still having to look honestly at my finances. I can believe in Rosie's real estate solutions all day long, and I do believe in it. But belief does not remove the pressure of a bill coming due. It does not automatically create consistent income because the business has had time to grow. That has been humbling for me. I don't mean embarrassing, because I'm not. I mean humbling in a way that truth can humble you when you finally stop arguing with it. I had to admit that I needed stability. And for some reason, admitting that touched something tender in me. I think because I wanted the business to be the whole answer right away. I wanted my new chapter to feel clean. I wanted to say, I left that old life. I started building this new one, and now everything is lining up. But that is not where I am yet. But I will be one day. Where I am is more complicated than that. I am building something I believe in with my whole heart. And I am also trying to keep my life steady while growing it. Those two things are happening at the same time. I cannot make the money pressure disappear by pretending it is not there. And I cannot let the money pressure bully me into believing the dream is wrong, because it absolutely is not. That is the part I am learning to sit with, because pressure can make you question everything. It could make you question your timing, your decisions, your confidence, even your calling. It can make a quiet week in your business feel like a warning. It can make a job interview feel like a verdict. It can make you wonder if you missed something when really you may just be in a season that requires more structure than emotion. And I have had a lot of emotion around this. Some of it fear, some of it grief, some of it frustration, because I do not want to feel like I'm starting over again. And I do not want to feel like I am back at the beginning trying to prove myself, trying to figure out where I fit, trying to explain why I made the choices I made. But when I slow down enough to listen beneath all of that, I hear something else too. I hear wisdom asking me to be practical, not panicked, practical. There's a difference. Panic says, do anything, grab anything, hurry up and fix this feeling. Wisdom, on the other hand, says, look at the truth and make the next steady decision. And that is where I am trying to stand right now. I'm trying to look at the truth without making it mean something ugly about me. Yes, I had to admit that the business needs more time, but it also needs me to show up for it in a more consistent way. Not in a frantic way, just steady enough that people begin to understand what I do and remember that I am available. At the same time, the bills are not waiting for the business to mature. And that is the part I cannot ignore. I have responsibilities right now, and pretending that money pressure is not there only makes me more anxious. I also had to look at how much of my energy was being spread across too many places. I had options, but options are not the same as direction. Just because something is possible does not mean it deserves my full attention in this season. That part has been important because I have realized that when I get afraid, I start looking everywhere. I start thinking about every possible lane: the business, the podcast, BNI, DCPP, notary work, title work, social media, outreach, presentations, new ideas, old ideas, and whatever else pops into my mind while I am driving. And I can make a case for all of it. And there lies the problem. I can explain why each thing matters. I can connect each thing to a larger picture. I can convince myself that everything needs attention right now. But if everything gets my attention, nothing really gets my commitment. Phew. That was deep, right? That is the hard truth for me. Not because I am lazy. Clearly I am not. Not because I do not care. Not because I do not care. I care deeply. The issue is that caring about everything at once can wear you out before you ever get to the work that actually moves something forward. So I am starting to ask a different question. What needs to be held right now? And what needs to be placed down for a season? That question feels more honest than asking, what else can I do? Because I already know I can do more. Of course I can. That's all I've ever done most of my life. The better question is whether doing more is actually helping me. And it's clear that it isn't. Right now, I need fewer moving pieces and more follow through. I need a rhythm I can repeat. I need to stop changing the message every time fear gets loud. I need to let the business be simple enough for people to understand what I do and how I can help. And I need to stop treating stability like it is the opposite of faith. It isn't. That may be the biggest shift in this whole thing. Somewhere along the way, I think I started believing that if I took a job or even considered taking a job, it meant that I stopped believing in my business. But I do not think that is true anymore. I think stability may be part of how I protect my business. I am beginning to see stability differently. A job may not be the thing that takes me away from the business. It may be the thing that gives me enough room to build it without making every slow week feel like an emergency. That thought gave me some peace because I had been treating practical decisions like they were somehow less faithful. But faith does not mean ignoring what is in front of me. Sometimes faith looks like making the responsible choice and trusting that God will still work through it. Scripture says in Jeremiah 21:11, NIV, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope in the future." That scripture is sitting with me differently in this season because it reminds me that God's plan for my life is not canceled just because the path does not look the way I expected. Looking at my finances, considering a job, and building my business with more structure does not mean I stopped trusting God, because I did not. It means I am learning how to walk with wisdom while still believing He has a future for me. And I think that is where DCPP caught me off guard. Because on paper, it looks like a job interview. You know, you apply, you interview, you see what happens. That sounds simple enough, right? But emotionally, it was not that simple for me. DCPP holds a lot of history in my life. Almost 15 years is not a short time. You do not give that many years to a place and walk away without carrying some of it with you. Even when you know why you left, even when you are clear about what did not work, even when you have made peace with certain parts of the story, there are still pieces that come up when you least expect them. When I left, I think I needed it to mean something. And I do believe leaving was part of my growth. I still believe that. But now that the possibility of going back has come up, I am realizing that leaving did not erase the connection. I did not erase the skills I developed there. It did not erase the families I cared about. It did not erase the part of me that knew how to walk into hard situations and do the work anyway. That is where things got a little complicated for me because I did not just leave a job. I left an identity. I left a version of me who knew exactly where she was supposed to be Monday through Friday. I left a steady paycheck. I left the title, I left the structure, I left the routine that even with all its weight, still gave my life a certain kind of order. And I also left a room that had become too heavy for me. Both of those things are true. That is what I had to stop arguing with. Sometimes we want one clean feeling so we can make one clean decision. But life does not always give us that. There are times when we have to hold two honest things in the same hand. That is what I had to stop arguing about. The old job was not all one thing. I remember why I left, and I also understand why stability feels so important right now. A steady income would give me room to breathe, and I do not need to feel ashamed for admitting that, and I'm not ashamed. At the same time, I do not want to pretend the old environment had no weight. I learned that. I grew that. I also reached a point where staying was costing me something. All of that is part of the truth, which is why this decision cannot be reduced to a simple yes or no in my spirit. That is the kind of honesty I am trying to practice because I don't need to make decisions from an old wound, but I also do not want to ignore what my life needs today. There's a difference between being pulled backward and being asked to look again with new eyes. I don't know that I would have understood that a few years ago. Back then, I may have made a decision mean too much too quickly. I may have said, if I go back, then everything I said about growth was not real. But that is not fair to me. Growth does not mean you never revisit a place, a conversation, or a decision. Growth means you return differently if you return at all, right? That part matters to me because if I walk back into an old room, I'm not walking in as the same woman who left. Absolutely not. I have a different awareness now. I pay closer attention to what drains me, what steadies me, and what starts pulling me away from myself. Years ago, I may have tolerated more just because the paycheck was steady or because I thought being strong meant pushing through whatever was in front of me. I don't see it that way anymore. Stability matters to me, especially in this season. But I cannot chase stability in a way that costs me my peace or silences my voice. That is the balance I am trying to understand. I am not just asking whether a job is available. I am asking whether I can enter that space with wisdom, boundaries, and a clear understanding of what I need this season to support. So instead of forcing myself to make a clean decision before I am ready, I am trying to slow down and understand what is really happening inside of me. The DCPP interview brought up fear, but there is also a practical need for income. It reminded me of what I left, but it also made me look honestly at what stability could provide now. Yes, there is caution, but there is also the possibility that I can make a different kind of decision now because I am a different kind of woman now. I am trying to sort through all of that, all of it, without letting one feeling become the whole truth. And I think that is why this season of the podcast has to change. I do not want to rush this part of the story just so it sounds finished. I am sorting through what this decision is bringing up in me. And I would rather be honest about that than pretend I already have a clean answer. Part of that truth is learning how to separate the past from the present. DCPP belongs to my history, but this decision belongs to my life right now. That distinction is helping me breathe a little. My past can inform me, but I do not want old pain making every new choice for me. I want to honor what I lived through without letting it become the only voice in the room. I'm going to end this episode here and pick it up again in episode 2 so that I don't rush through episodes. So until next time, sis y hermana, stay rooted, stay blessed, and keep rising. New episodes every Monday morning. If today's episode resonated with you, follow the show, leave a review, and share it with another woman who's rising or someone in your life who needs it. Follow on Spotify or subscribe on YouTube so you don't miss what's next on Rosie Rooted and Rising.